Okay, welcome in the fourth episode of Journey Towards Freedom. Today, we'll discover the secrets of the brain. I will try to present you the brain on the silver plate, like Hannibal Lecter in his movies, so we can enjoy and understand this jelly. But you may ask, why do I need this jelly? Why this information are so important for me? Well, to answer it simply, so you will not get screwed over. Basically, if you have no idea how it functions, it can be easily manipulated and programmed by others. Think that the government and other people, even companies, are not using this knowledge to your disadvantage. Just look at all the ads that are creating, all the marketing stuff. It's happening around us. And you think this is just for increasing the sales? Not only. They use it for basically every day, every choice of your life. From the beginning, when you are small, till you are adult. So you are a very good, obedient slave. So, if you're not aware of these decisions that you are taking, will be actually made by someone else. And you will be even not aware of them, of the presence that this thought was not yours, it was implanted into you by someone else. It comes from everywhere. Surroundings, some ad you see, from the government, from the school. Everywhere you can be. Even watching the news on the media can lead to some propaganda and manipulation that you are not even aware of. Reading some articles on the internet. Listening to me can also be part of the manipulation if you are not aware of how there are basic tactics and how your brain works. So, if you cannot control it, if you cannot control how your mind and brain functions, you don't know it, then you won't be able to change yourself for the better, to unprogram yourself from the shit they give you, from this slave programming, and introduce new programming for the free folk. Without changing yourself, how do you want to achieve freedom? It's impossible. First, you have to change yourself. And for that, you need to understand how your brain works. Without this, nothing. Nothing will be changed. You also will be less prone to the propaganda that is on the agenda every day. The emotional influence, the rational influence, based on the how are you disbalanced, which brain function you are disbalanced more, and you lean towards some more emotional responses or more rational ones. This is every day happening, and you are falling for this. Mostly without realizing that those decisions you make are done by someone else. You won't be able to free your mind that way. You can also won't be able to repair your trauma if you don't know about your brain. You don't know which side of the brain you have a problem with. Is it maybe left brain, right brain? You don't know how to tackle this problem, how to solve it. So basic knowledge is always useful. This will not be full deep dive into neurobiology course. This is gonna be just a basic approach. Just the basic needs that I think are useful for you to break free from these manipulations, to help you, give you the tool so you can understand how everything works around us and be able to be less manipulated and be able to think on your own a little bit more. So I would like to present you the first concept of the brain. So it's called triune brain. Basically, it's separated into three main parts. So the oldest one, called reptilian brain or R complex, the mammalian brain, and the newest one, the neocortex. So, according to this theory about this brain, it was stated that each of these parts of the brain, so the reptilian, limbic, and neocortex, should be working independently. But as of today, it's already disproved, and it's already known that all the parts of the brain are working in a cooperation. They are cooperative to achieve the goals of responding to some kind of the stimuli, external or internal. So they moved from more triune brain to adaptive brain model. But still, there's a lot you can get out of this model, and let's go into this. So let's go into first the R complex, so the oldest part of this, the reptilian brain. So basically it's comprised of the brainstem and cerebellum. So these are the two parts that are both creating the reptilian brain. The reptilian brain, so what is this responsibility? This is more of the receptive part of the brain. It's like the lowest consciousness of our brain. We don't do any thinking with this part, it's just reactive part of our brain. So what does it mean that it's reactive? So it just reacts to the stimulus and response mechanism. It just automatically works in the subconscious mind to run the programs that are responsible for our basic needs, basic care. So they are responsible for the motoric reactions, for the respiratory actions like breathing in, breathing out, and just taking care of this. So whenever there is a basic stimuli coming from inside, this is the part of the brain that will react to this. It will also take care of the fight or flight response model. So whenever you are in some kind of danger, the fight or flight mode will engage and take control over you. So what is the fight or flight mode or response? So basically, you have, in case of encountering a danger, you have two possible responses. Either you fight back or you flight. And that's when the R complex is taking care of this. So it analyzes the danger and decides whether it's better to run away and pump as much blood into, for example, your legs, so you can fly away as fast as possible from the danger. Run away from it and never see it again. Or if it's better to maybe pump a little bit more into your hand muscles to protect yourself, to fight back. For example, if you encounter a bear somewhere, your best chances would be to fly. You have really little means of survival if you decide to go on with trying to box with bear. So your option, R complex, will decide that it's better to just run away. Increase the adrenaline, pump every possible blood that it can from other organs to legs, so you can run as fast as possible, use all the strength of the muscles to run away. So I think that is enough summary of the brain. Let's move to the second part of the brain, which is the limbic system. So limbic system is also called the middle brain or the mammalian brain, and it consists of thalamus, hypothalamus, hippocampus, or amygdala. So these are the components of this limbic brain. Now, what are the limbic brain responsibilities? Limbic brain is responsible for all the emotions happening in your body, what that you feel, are happening primarily in the limbic system. So, how does exactly this works? So, emotions arise when the limbic system processes patterns and assigns meaning to them. Then it activates the hypothalamus, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, which triggers the psychological reactions in the brain. For example, increased heart rate, feelings of joy, or maybe the stress. So we have two possible stimuli. First is external. For example, you hear someone screaming, you see a bear, as in the previous example. Someone is touching you, maybe a familiar touch, an unfamiliar touch, or internal. It can be memories, traumas, thoughts, some kind of the changes in your body, for example, hunger or pain. And then, based on this stimuli, it assigns the emotional meaning. And that is the basic responsibility for this limbic brain, limbic system. Let's move to the last and the biggest part of our human brain, which is the neocortex. This is the largest, this is the gray matter around our brain. This is the most complex one, and it's where all our complex thought processes, the higher order thinking is happening. Our sense of morality, our possibility to analyze symbolically, our intuition. This is where all these things, well, all these, let's say, thoughts come from that makes us who we are, makes us human, and allows us to become aware of this system, makes us also bound to the natural law. So I would like to focus a little bit on two parts of this brain, just not to focus on every aspect of this, how this works in the neurobiological sense. So this is the frontal and prefrontal cortex, the two youngest parts of the brain, and mostly they are being developed during our growth in the early years of our life. So just to simplify it a little bit, you can compare it to the blank sheet. Yeah, on a blank sheet, it records every experience that we are experiencing throughout our early life. Then it, from this, creates neural connections so that our brain is easier and faster to respond to similar experiences that we will encounter in the future. So it creates some kind of the basic programs that it will activate so we can run them when experiencing some kind of the stimuli, external or internal. Let's move and talk a little bit about the adaptive model. The adaptive model is more comprised of the neuroplasticity of our brain. So what does it mean? Well, it means that the brain tries to adapt and anticipate any events that comes, external or internal events, and choose a proper reaction. Now, since it works mostly on the predictions, it can come up to a wrong prediction. So if it predicts wrong, it will apply incorrect response to the given event. So if this is happening more and more and more, that the prediction is wrong, it just cuts out the neural connections that are connected to this particular event and creates a new one. So this is made so we can be made of faster decisions, and it gives us the possibility of change. This is why it's so important to understand how our brain works. Thanks to this model and the understanding of our brain, this plasticity of our brain, this neuroplastic, you can rewrite or translate some of the neural connection into something new. So you can change yourself just by trying to understand some kind of the behaviors you do are based on incorrect programs that were created during your early life in the frontal and prefrontal cortex. So this model actually denies the theory that we are being born with some kind of the nature. So the children are born basically with a blank sheet, and then the responses are generated on the basis of experience during the first years of our life. So during these first years, which are crucial to our development, the brain, based on the environment, our parents, ourselves, and interacting with the external world, will create the basic patterns how to react, how to work with this, how to be able to move around in this interesting world we're living in. With these patterns, we can have some kind of the improper reactions to some kind of the events that occur. For example, someone points out some kind of the mistakes that we made. Now, if, for example, in your younger ages, when you were young, say father or mother was constantly aggressive about the mistakes you made. They were shouting at you, saying that you are worthless, that you should never make such a mistakes. This is what you learn, that this is the response that should be made if someone points out their mistakes. Aggression, for example, instead of being able, okay, maybe someone tries to help me with pointing out my mistakes, and instead of acting with aggression, I should maybe try to consider if it is worth for me to change, to fix something, because it is an improper, I'm doing something improperly. But first you need to understand why your aggressive reaction, where it comes from. It can come from the very young age, and you trying to mimic your parents that were aggressive when their mistake was pointed out, or when you did something wrong and they, in very aggressive tone, tried to point out that you shouldn't make such a mistakes. So let's go back to our neocortex and let's talk a little bit about the left and right hemispheres of our brain. So the brain is divided on the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. Apart from the basic need that the left hemisphere manages the movement of the right part of the body and the left one opposite, let's focus on what are basic responsibilities of this part of the brain. The left hemisphere is mostly responsible for our intellect, our logic, our analytical thinking, some mathematics and science, and sequential thinking. So what is the sequential thinking? It's something that we can break into smaller steps and provide step-by-step analysis of how to achieve a given goal. Connecting with analytical thinking. So breaking, for example, if you need to create a tool, you have to create a sequence in which you will create a tool. So for example, if you want to create, a basic spear out of the wood, you have to find a nice long stick. Then you have to carve it. You have to take a knife and sharpen the one end of the stick. That is when you do it in sequence. You cannot do it in the parallel or just applying it. So this is where left hemisphere helps you with. So it is a very strict and logical mind. It tries to solve puzzles of this our 3D world where we're living in. It tries to interact with the outside world. In the mysticism, it is connected to this triangle, as you can see here, the pointed up triangle, which represents the masculine energy. And masculine energy is exactly what I have described previously. So it's interacting with outside world, performing some real actions in this world. Yeah, doing just action in the simplicity. So now, when you are imbalanced, the left hemisphere takes over your whole thinking and try to react to everything, every stimuli. What can become wrong? First, it can be the excessive desire for control. If you shut down your right hemisphere and try to analyze everything with just your left hemisphere, or mostly with your left hemisphere, there is no balance between those hemispheres, you will be more lean towards this excessive control. You will try to control everything that is happening in your life. You try to order everything, and everything has to work correctly. Everyone also has to be working the same as you expect them. You assign some kind of task or responsibility given to others, you expect the results when they are told. For example, I will do it next day. You expect it next day. You have to control every aspect. Someone is going out. Where are you going? What you doing? You try to be and understand everything. You try to turn this chaos, this chaotic world that you see, that the events you cannot predict, into something predictable. Then you can have the dominance disorder. So in any conversation, situation, you always try to be a dominant part of it. You can become aggressive. You want to dominate over others. There's your way or no way at all. So try, go with the dominance, order others, give them orders, and expect total obedience of others. And the last one is that you have problems with emotions, empathy. Your right brain is shut down. Why is that? Because the left brain is more tightly connected to the reptilian mind connection. So it's more based on the survival. And if you work mostly with your left brain, left hemisphere, you have imbalance, that left brain is taking care of all the responses. You lack this emotional attachment. You lack this emotional information, because that's how our brain works. It tries to, whenever an event comes outside or internal, it applies the logical, rational analysis and emotional analysis, and then combined from this, try to get the response out into the world. We can then act our masculine energy and throw it into action. Apply some kind of the response. So left brain is connected and based on in survival. Now if this is in balance, we'll be more focused on survival. So it's me or you in the constant fight or flight mode, which can generate many problems. Many problems. You try to control, as I said, dominate others, try to enforce, control, obedience. Now let's move to the right hemisphere. And in this right hemisphere, you can see that these responsibilities are more about the intuition, imagination or creativity, more holistic thinking, compassion, and pattern recognition. So if the left brain is more connected to the reptilian brain, the right brain is more connected to the limbic system, which is responsible for all the emotions. So this is where we create our compassion. We are more based on our intuition, imagination. We can now use the holistic thinking, which I explained in the previous episodes. And also, in the mysticism, it is connected to our feminine energy, our intuition, our internal state of the mind, because it is a triangle pointed downwards. It is pointed inside of us, because the right hemisphere is working mostly independently. If left brain is focused outside of us, taking care of the action, well, no one sees your intuition. No one can see your imagination, creativity, your emotions. Those are something that are internal weight for you. So this is more feminine energy. The care, the compassion. That's what feminine energy is used for. So if you have the right hemisphere in balance, so you mostly use your right hemisphere to process events and apply a correct response to them, you can have a difficulty with logical thinking and making decisions, because the decisions, they are made of the basis of your emotions. Whatever the state of your emotion are, that's more probable that you will give a given reaction. If you are more anger, if you are happy, if you are sad, this kind of the emotional response will have a priority for such a person. They will also be lack of emotional control. They will not be able to control their emotions, and emotions will take over them, and they will act upon the emotions they are feeling right now. So this is very easy to throw someone out of control, throw them into the correct emotional state, and then manipulate them so they can create the positive outcome for the given people that want to control us. So this is also the emotional overexcitement, excessive stress. You have lack of action. Since you are this more into your feminine energy that's pointing inwards you are less likely to perform actions in the 3D world. You are more scared of confronting anyone. You avoid any kind of the confrontation. You try to focus that, for example, if I won't be confronting this will disappear. The world I see before me is not like this. If I stop thinking about this, it will go away. It will go away. Yeah, also, since you lack action, you don't implement your ideas that happens in your brain. You don't put them into action. You don't actually manage to complete. You can think about a lot of things, what you would like to do, what you would like to become, but you never put any real work into it. You don't activate your left hemisphere, your masculine energy, and put those thoughts into action. So this can lead also to submission and being under external influences, especially the emotional ones. So other people can easily influence you and persuade you to do things you would like not to do. We are more submissive to your boss or someone that is in your thought more above you, because you fear the confrontation. You feel that you are not good enough to confront such of the person. So these are the basics of the mind that I wanted to tell you that this, using mostly the right and left imbalances, the rulers of our world use this knowledge to enslave us and keep us under control. So it's so important to bring back the balance and maintain it, the balance between right and left hemisphere, so that our brain can work as a whole, as a one compound object that it should be. So we should also have the process information from the left hemisphere, that is rational, logical one, and the emotional. And then, based on the combination of this, the emotional aspect and the logical aspect of the information of the event, we can then perform a correct action. We can understand and what to do and how to do it correctly and perform. So I hope you found this video useful, and we will see each other in the next video. As for now, I'm Adek, and you are watching Trident of Freedom. See me in my website, tridentoffreedom.com, and see you in the next video.